awfully quiet all of a sudden.
Is this one for me? Thank you.
Yeah, still 2 minutes. Welcome to everybody in the back there. Nice to have you all here.
Glad to see you. Our sixth
Yeah.
ninth race possible.
Don't feel like you can sit, have to stand in the back. Chairs up here. Right here?
Yeah.
Madam President, Commissioners, good morning. It's now 11:30.
All right. Thank you, Director Wong. Welcome, everyone. We're going to go ahead with our pre-commission agenda. I would ask if there are any comments or questions about the agenda coming up that anyone would like to address.
Madam President,
Commissioner McKinney?
is this on? I do have questions on the consent agenda regarding items 6, 7, 8, and 9. My question relates to the comparison of these service contracts, the contract amounts for this coming up fiscal year compared to the previous fiscal year. I'm just wondering if somebody can give me and if not, if those numbers aren't on hand right away, we could do it perhaps at the beginning of the regular meeting.
Madam President, Commissioner McKinney, I'll have those numbers to you after the session. We'll get to them right away.
Great, thank you.
All right, perfect. Thank you very much. All right, any other comments or questions? All right, hearing none. Director Wong, over to you.
Thank you. Commissioners, good morning. And such, we're going to start off a little differently here at the Ada County Highway District. Jennifer, can you join me, please? As you all know, next week, we're sending our competition team to Denver for the annual maintenance rodeo. You always see that big trophy that's out front that we've generally bring the gold back home, and we highly expect we're going to do it again. But today, we're awarding jackets to our team members. Jennifer, if you could please assist, and could we have the team come up? They'll be wearing these in great spirit. In the back here, and such, front and back.
Nice. And, oh, very nice.
Again, for us, first class or no class. So, Sean, right? Where are you? Okay. There.
Good luck, Sean.
Congratulations.
Yes. Oh, congratulations, everyone.
Stand right in front. It's okay.
Awesome. All right, go team. Yeah.
Commissioners, thank you. As a reminder, you have a very busy day tomorrow, and such. We have the joint meeting with Boise at 12 o'clock. Excuse me, at 10 o'clock. Right, Stacy? And we have the Chip Seal Victory Party at Cloverdale at 12. We then have the HDR's 30th anniversary at 4 p.m. at 412 East Park Center. And then finally, later on that day at 5 p.m. at Julia Davis Park, we have the WTS annual barbecue to say thank you to all of its members. So again, a very, very busy day. Stacy, would you hand those out? Commissioners, Stacy's going to be handing you out the executive summary of the City of Meridian's citizen survey that we just got our fingers on. As you recall, we had the BSU do their survey for what citizens sought, and it's absolutely amazing, but the two replicate each other. In other words, if you'll turn to page Roman numeral 5 on this, as you go down the list, and I'll just read this out. Ratings for road-related projects. 89% of residents surveyed who had an opinion rated roadway widening as a high priority, rated 7 to 10 on an 11-point scale. Other road-related projects that residents rated as a high priority include intersection improvements, pathway, sidewalk connectivity on local streets. So again, it truly is very compelling when we have both the BSU survey that went out to all Ada County residents and the Meridian survey of their residents that basically say the same thing when it comes down to our operation. Now, I do have the entire survey package. If you would like, I can send you the link to those so that you can review them. I have sent that to Commissioner Pickering and such up front. So anyway, if you'd like to see that, more than happy to send it to you all going forward. But very, very interesting survey results. Commissioners, as you know, we're in the middle of rebranding. Shannon and her group are doing a tremendous job. I do want to let you know that our survey going out to the Ada County is out and about regarding communications, how we can improve those sort of things, and we look forward to their results. And then finally, as you know, a while back we did talk, we had some discussion about what your proposed legislative agenda for this year might be. I still have those notes. In the very near future, we will sit down with all of you again and go over to see if we can finalize this moving forward, because legislative session is right around the corner, and we want to make sure our lobbyist has everything that you'd like him to have prior to that session. So again, a little bit quick, Commissioners, but that is my director's report for today, and if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them.
All right, thank you very much, Director Wong. Commissioners, any questions or comments?
Madam
Hanson?
President, yes, thank you, Director. I just want to, and I could see Christie's here, so I do want to take the opportunity. I listened to her presentation last week while I was away, and it was superb. I really appreciate that. Really appreciate the feedback, the model that everybody's collectively developed of a context sensitive, reaching out, understanding what the individual people living on that street have and how that is a model. So I really appreciate that, and I just wanted to echo what was said last week, and so I look forward to that and to how our approach on that with the temporary installations and the feedback is going to be applied in other areas. I think it's really put us in a good position. We'll get pushback from people who are used to saying, oh, I can drive from work in Meridian down that road down to downtown Boise in 40 minutes. And now it might take 42, and they'll say, oh my gosh, you've ruined it. But that gives us the ability to say, oh, this is done for the neighborhood, and you live in a neighborhood too.
Madam President, Commissioner Hanson, first off, welcome back. You were obviously part of history on your tour, kind of neat. I greatly appreciate the comments for the staff. I think all of you will be equally impressed with today's presentation on Nez Perce as we move forward on that.
Very good. Thank you very much. All right, any other further questions? All right, so it looks like we've got a few minutes.
Yes, you do.
All right, thank you very much, Director Wong. Watched pod.
Madam President, Commissioners, good afternoon. It's now 12 o'clock.
All right, thank you, Director Wong. Welcome, everyone. Please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, everyone. Our first item is to adopt our agenda. Is there a motion?
Yes, so moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless a commissioner or a citizen so requests, in which case the item will be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda. All consent agenda items are commission action items unless noted. Is there a motion?
Madam President,
Commissioner McKinney?
just acknowledging that the staff has provided the previous year cost information regarding the consent agenda items that I asked for previously. I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you. Is there a
Second.
second? All right, we have a motion before us. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, motion passes. That takes us down to our regular agenda. First item, PVC Pipe Resolution number 2390, request for approval, and this is a public hearing. So I will go ahead and open the public hearing, and we will hear from Lloyd. There you are. Got the sun kind of coming right through the window. Welcome.
Welcome, thank you. Afternoon, President May and Commissioners. Before you, we have resolution number 2390. This is a resolution for our PVC pipe purchasing for the FY23 calendar year or fiscal year. It is before you as we went out for our annual contract for PVC pipe in the middle of August, and we had received no bidders as we had received previous years. And so this is a resolution that will allow us to purchase PVC pipe on the open market. As the vendors have this material available, we'll be able to go to them and purchase this material for our repair needs.
And we are capping it. Is there a cap on this?
We have a budget of $300,000 for this year.
Very good. All right, thank you. Commissioners, any questions for Lloyd? Commissioner McKinney?
If I may,
Go ahead.
Commissioner Hanson, do you have questions?
No,
I'm just wanting to make sure I understand why we need a resolution to purchase products. Is it simply because we're ordinarily, our rules are that we have to get a sole source provider, and this is going outside of that?
Yes.
Okay. Does this raise the possibility that we could, have supply problems that we might not otherwise have? If we need pipe and it's not available on the open market, that can happen, I suppose. If we had a sole source, someone who's contractually obligated to provide it, I don't know, that puts us in a better situation. Is that kind of what we're risking here?
President May, Commissioner McKinney, there is that possibility, but with a sole source, you get someone to a contract and they have to supply, and right now currently vendors are not willing to go into those kind of agreements due to the volatility of the market right now.
Okay. Our prices then are likely going to be higher, are they not?
That is correct.
Okay. Ordinarily then, but when we do purchase pipe, I imagine the vendors from whom we purchase it, they deliver it to wherever we need it. We're not having to stockpile it. Is that correct?
President May, Commissioner McKinney, we actually stockpile material at our yards, as we do have projects where a pipe will blow and we have to get it replaced for emergency reasons. So
Okay.
we do stockpile and inventory in our yard, and that's what this material will be, is to restock our inventory.
Okay, so normally we're not buying it as needed for projects. We're stockpiling it so that we can use it as needed when, middle of the night, something goes wrong, we've got to fix something. Is that
For the
right?
majority, yes. There are sometimes specially sized pipe that we come across that we do have to go to them individually, but for
Okay.
the most part, yes, it's in our inventory.
Okay. All right, good.
So this is for our reserve
Yes.
to have on hand.
Thank
Very
you.
good. Thank you, Commissioner McKinney. Commissioner Hanson?
Madam President, thank you. So this, as I recall, it's the first time we've had to go on the open market for one of our key materials. Do you anticipate this happening with other materials as well that we need, or is this a one-off? What's the trend in the market? I know the supply chain issues are hitting us and hitting our suppliers, so just to anticipate what might be coming in the future. After 10 years, I think this is the first time I've seen this.
Madam President.
Mr. Price.
Commissioners, Steve Price, General Counsel. Yeah, the pipe issue is really different. The increases in the market fluctuation, you can't get a fixed price under a bid at this time because prices are going up and because of the supply chain. And to the extent that we see other things that we require, like traffic poles or things like that, we may see it. We're not seeing it now. You did see it in paint. So we're seeing that. This is really our only way of dealing with it, to be able to have the ability to get it when we need it, and we have a selected vendor. The answer to your question is, under this particular process, this is a unique procurement, and a resolution is required to be adopted. So that's why it's before you today.
Unique and necessary.
Madam President,
Director
Commissioners, as you know, we watch the economics very, very carefully. As of about 3 minutes ago, the Feds raised the 0.75%. So again, this will continue to complicate all operations, but you may see some more of these, you may not. But at the end of the day, this just happened a minute ago, so we will look at how that's going to affect us economically here later on today.
Thank you.
Madam President,
Clerk?
I'm just confused. I'm also sarcastic, but I'm confused here. I heard just a couple of days ago from Washington that the supply chain issue was over and done with.
All right.
Sorry, I had to say that.
All right, thank you. So do you have anything else to add before we see if there's anyone that would like to speak to us? Thank you, Lloyd. Ms. Spencer? Nobody? Zoom? Anyone in the audience like to speak to this issue? All right, and Lloyd, nothing more to add? All right, I will go ahead and close the public hearing. Commissioners, you have this item before you.
Madam
Yes.
President,
Commissioner Hanson.
I would move to approve PVC Pipe Resolution number 2390.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Yes.
Second.
All right, we have a motion before us. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you very much, Lloyd. All right, the next item on our regular agenda. Arezzo, I don't want to mispronounce. View Subdivision Preliminary Plat. This is an appeal and a waiver of policy. So we will turn it over to you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam President, members of the Commission. For the record, Paige Bankhead, Civil Engineer and Development Services and Technical Services. Before you today is application number APP 22-0014, Arezzo View Subdivision. This project is before the Commission for 2 waiver requests. This is a preliminary plat application consisting of 5 single-family residential lots on 30 acres located northeast of Victory Road and McDermott Road. This site has frontage on McDermott Road, classified as a mobility arterial, Victory Road, a minor arterial, and Elevation Place, a local road. This development is estimated to generate approximately 42 additional vehicle trips per day, with 5 trips occurring in the PM peak hour. Typically, the applicant would be required to improve McDermott Road, a mobility arterial, and Victory Road, a minor arterial, with 17 feet of pavement from centerline, a 3-foot wide gravel shoulder, and the construction of 5-foot wide detached concrete sidewalk abutting the site. The applicant has requested to dedicate additional right-of-way abutting the site for McDermott Road to total 50 feet from the centerline of the road, and for Victory Road to total 39 feet from the centerline of the road, consistent with the master street map, and dedicate right-of-way for the future multi-lane roundabout at McDermott Road and Victory Road intersection abutting the site, consistent with the master street map and CIP. The applicant has proposed to dedicate this right-of-way without compensation in lieu of constructing frontage improvements. The applicant notes that these improvements would change the rural farming nature of the area. Oops, back one slide. The applicant notes that these improvements would change the rural farming nature of the area, would require drainage improvements near the Rodenball Canal, placing a substantial financial burden on the applicant, and that the waiver request is consistent with similar commission decisions on adjacent subdivisions. On August 17th, the commission approved a similar waiver request for Calla Lily subdivision located directly south of the site. Staff supports the applicant's request due to the fact that there are no pedestrian attractors near the site. The development will have a low trip generation, and there is limited pavement width on McDermott Road and Victory Road in the vicinity of the site, and this is consistent with prior commission actions in this area. In addition to this request, the applicant has requested that Lot 2 be allowed direct access onto Victory Road, and it's labeled on the graphic on the slide, because there is an existing entrance island on Elevation Place, and the easement for the septic system for this development will block most of Lot 2's frontage on Elevation Place. And you can see those outlined in red and green. However, this does not meet the district's access policy. District policy limits accesses onto arterial roads to those that are necessary to serve the site. The intent of this policy is to limit the number of access points to those that are warranted or necessary to serve the development while maintaining the function, safety, and performance of their arterial road for current and future conditions. This policy is in place to reduce potential conflicts and to ensure the safest access is provided to a site for the benefit of the site and the drivers on the arterial roads. District policy specifies that direct lot access for a single-family residence onto a minor arterial road is prohibited if access can be provided to a lesser classified and less busy road. In addition, the applicant's proposal does not meet district policy criteria to allow an additional access point onto an arterial road, as the overall site is not constrained by topography or limited in size from providing Lot 2 access to Elevation Place. And it will not generate more than 5,000 daily trips, and there are no concerns with the operations or access to Elevation Place from Victory Road that would warrant Lot 2 to take direct access on Victory Road. And so those are the criteria we look at if a site needs another access point onto an arterial road, is the daily trips, if there's any operational concerns with the intersection, and if they're constrained by any topography or size issues with their site. Staff does not support the applicant's request to allow 2 direct access to Victory Road because the site is not constrained. This is a 30-acre site with 5 5-acre lots proposed. There is sufficient space to extend the shared access for lots 3 and 4, which you can see as the dashed line, to the south to Lot 2, which is the solid line, to provide access to Elevation Place so that Lot 2 does not need to take direct access onto Victory Road, and this is consistent with district policy. It is important to limit the number of access points onto an arterial road if there is a better and safer option available, not only for the safety of the resident, but for the safety of the drivers on the arterial road and for future conditions. Victory Road is listed in the master street map to be widened to 3 lanes in the future, and as with all areas in the Treasure Valley, traffic will continue to grow. The applicant has suggested that the access onto the arterial road be temporary until sewer can be provided to the development, at which point the septic system with the easement shown in red can be abandoned and the easement vacated so that Lot 2 can directly access Elevation Place. However, the timing of the sewer extension is unknown, and we do not have a way to monitor this and require that the applicant close the driveway on Victory Road in the future when the sewer extension occurs. Therefore, staff does not recommend that the applicant's request for Lot 2 to take direct access onto Victory Road be approved as proposed. The applicant should be required to provide Lot 2 access to Elevation Place. Staff recommends approval of the staff report as written. I will now stand for any questions.
All right, thank you very much.
Madam
Commissioners, any
President?
questions or
Yes.
comments? Commissioner Goldthorpe?
Back on the pictures, a couple of slides, are we suggesting then that that they put their driveway on the frontage there by Elevation all the way up to the above lot number 3 into lot 4? And is lot 3 and 4 going to be fronting Elevation, or are they going to be fronting McDermott?
So lots, Madam President, Commissioner Goldthorpe, lots 3 and 4 front Elevation Place. So they've proposed a shared driveway for lots 3 and 4 that takes access to Elevation Place. And so we're recommending that they extend it, or they can configure another access to Elevation Place within their site, however they choose. We just do not want access onto Victory Road consistent with district policy.
Okay, then I'll save the rest of my questions for the applicant.
Mr. Hanson?
Madam President, I just want to clarify the distance of this supposed access point. It doesn't violate policy from the standpoint of too close to the intersection. So that aspect is not a concern.
So, Madam President, Commissioner Hanson, actually the access they've proposed on Victory Road does not meet our offset policy. So district policy requires 425 feet from an intersection, and this is proposed, I believe it's 235 feet from any other access point.
And just clarify, this is going to be only 3 lanes or two through lanes, 1 lane in each direction.
Correct.
And then McDermott is, the other side of McDermott is Canyon County, right? Is that
Correct, yeah.
So we don't know whether there's going to be much through traffic there. Okay. Okay. And, oh well, I'll ask the applicant too.
Thank you. Commissioner McKinney?
Yes, thank you. Paige, could we go back a couple slides to the Plat
Yeah.
picture there? Yeah, go back 2. There we go. Oh, wait. Are these the only, wasn't there another
You want
image?
an overall one?
Yeah,
This
oh,
one?
wait, here we go. Yeah, all right. Go back, the one with the yellow on it just a second ago. There we go. Is it just, it appears that the canal is part of, the canal property is part of this subdivision. I'm just curious why that is.
Commissioner, or Madam President, Commissioner McKinney, that's sometimes they'll have an easement on the property, and that was existing. Maybe the applicant can provide some better clarity on that.
Okay, well, that was just a curiosity, but okay, so if we get back to the driveway issue, the direct access from Elevation Place to Lot 2 cannot happen because the septic system easement is in the way, and I assume that employs a berm, et cetera, et cetera. Is that correct?
Madam President, Commissioner McKinney, that's correct. The easement, I'm assuming the easement, it won't allow a driveway construction on top of the septic easement.
But we are anticipating that eventually sewer service will be provided to these lots, and when that happens, I imagine that septic system easement goes away, and then direct driveways could be constructed. Is that correct? But that's several years in the future, presumably. Okay. The box culverts that the applicant mentions, where would those be needed if the applicant, are we talking on Victory and McDermott? Are those the only locations that we're talking about?
Correct.
Oh, yeah, here's one question then, and this is really a question that we need to answer from our side, and really my question is, as far as the trade-off between taking additional right-of-way from the applicant as opposed to having them widen the road, what's the relative cost trade-off there? In other words, is the because there's a cost for the developer to widen the road. In the future, we would bear that cost if the developer didn't do it. Then, of course, there's also right-of-way costs, which we would bear. What's the cost trade-off? Is it kind of a wash here? Are we, if we agree with that particular waiver that the applicant's asking for, what's the cost impact?
Madam President, Commissioner McKinney, I don't have the exact numbers, but with Calla Lilly, and that was a very similar waiver request, it was beneficial for us to not compensate for right-of-way, and then for them to just dedicate right-of-way and not construct improvements.
Okay. All right. I'd like to, I don't know if there's any way that we can get some numbers or figures on that, but if that's possible, I'd like to know that. Thank you.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, we'll go ahead and hear from the applicant. Thank you. Welcome. You just state your name and address, please, for the record.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm Becky McKay with Engineering Solutions, business address 1029 North Rosario and Meridian. I'm representing the applicant on this particular application that's before you this afternoon. To kind of give you just a little bit of history of this particular piece of property, the original Alta View subdivision was a 2007 development. It did go into foreclosure. It was purchased by my client. And when this subdivision was designed, what you see in red there running along that western side of Elevation Place was a community septic system. And so sewer lines were installed along Elevation Place, and everything drains into that community system. One of the requirements that was set forth on this project by Central District Health on their approved construction plans, it indicates that you cannot drive on this septic system, you can't plant any trees, and you can't have any pasture. You can only have grass. And so it kind of caused us a little bit of difficulty in trying to figure out our access situation. So we had a shared access, as you see in light blue there, between lots 3 and 4. And that was kind of a short access there. That was about a couple hundred feet to kind of get around there. And so that would be a shared driveway between lot 3 and 4. Well, then we struggled with lot 2 because there is an existing landscape island at the entrance of Elevation and Victory Road, which is approximately 70 feet in length. And so we can't get around the island, and then due to the limitation of that community system where we can't drive any vehicles over that facility, the only thing that we could come up with was a driveway to Victory Road. I did go back through the original approved plans, and there was an existing driveway to a existing home right there where we show the driveway in blue. And that's what that cluster of trees is. And I did send this to your staff, showing that there was an existing home, existing driveway at that location back in 2007. The home was removed, but the trees remained. And so this driveway, I hate waivers. I don't come before you guys very often because I try to make my projects comply with the policy manual. This one is kind of an oddball where we just don't have an alternative other than to bring another 250 feet of driveway across lot 3 to get to lot 2, which then that could cause some issues with the county because my frontage, my 250 feet of frontage is technically on Victory because I can't get across that elevation or over to Elevation Place. So the compromise that I asked the staff is, could we have this designated as a temporary driveway that will be removed when central sewer becomes available, because that whole community system, since there are sewer lines there, it would be easy to intercept that and take it offline. And then at that time, we'd remove this driveway, which initially existed in the previous condition, and then they could take access off Elevation Place. You know, we're only talking 5 lots here. You talk about, you know, what's the cost benefit. We have agreed to donate the right-of-way for the future roundabout, donate additional right-of-way along McDermott, along Victory Road. Victory Road is a minor arterial, anticipated to be a 3-lane. This is within Meridian's area of city impact, so at some point in time, sewer most likely would be available. When that will happen, I don't know, because this is at the periphery of Canyon County and Ada County. But it's kind of, I'm at your mercy here, trying to solve a problem with the most effective means that we can, because I just don't think that building 455 feet of driveway to access that 5.98 acre lot makes a lot of sense. I think an interim driveway that it could be conditioned would be removed. We have those temporary driveways throughout Ada County on the highway district system, and this is just for residents only. And I do realize it doesn't meet the policy manual requirements for a driveway and an offset. But I just can't see that there be that much harm for one single family residence, and it is restricted for a single family residence and designated as temporary to be removed. Can I answer any questions that you may have?
I just, Becky, when it was approved back in, you said in 2007, was it approved with that caveat there for that temporary entry? Or is this what you came up with, the solution to this issue?
Madam Chair, I do not believe that it was, the house was removed because the house was on the 75% required open space. The driveway, I think, is still there today. I think is just used for agricultural purposes at this time because they have that in hay, and that's what they've been using it for ag purposes. So I don't believe that in 2007 the staff granted a residential driveway to Lot 2.
Been a little bit premature. Okay.
No.
All right. Thank you. Commissioners, any further questions?
Yes, Madam President.
Commissioner Goldthorpe.
You actually answered most of my questions. I drive this area almost daily. And I was going to ask about the existing driveway that's been there for as long as I've lived here, much longer actually. And so you answered that. And the fact that there is that existing septic system with pipes and everything going up, I think makes a very untenable solution for having that access from Lot 2, having to go that far north and inconvenience at least 2 other lot owners. So I don't really have any questions because you've answered them all, and I'm glad you're here. I know from the past 8 years here, we have granted, I don't know how many waivers such as this for, or trade-offs for right-of-way. And right here in this very area, probably a dozen of them in the last few years. So, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Madam President, yeah, and thank you, Becky. I really appreciate you bringing this to us. I know you said you're reluctant to bring, I would actually say, please bring them, because this is how we learn about a generic application of a policy in real life on property owners. And we've had this problem in the downtown Boise issue, where this generic application of our access said we have to take it off of a smaller road really upset some planning on that smaller road. We have this issue arising with Warm Springs, East Warm Springs, where it would have been logical to take access off of East Warm Springs, but no, our policy said you got to take it off of this little narrow residential road. So I think your request is perfectly reasonable, and that the operation of this policy imposes a burden by requiring a dedication of a significant chunk of land of Lot 3, just for some generic concern related to a minor arterial. The purpose, I think, of this policy is that we want people to be not distracted by a bunch of driveways. Well, there aren't, and there's been a driveway here for as long as the local residents can remember. It is also a minor arterial. The Master Street map does not have it going out to 5 lanes or becoming a big expressway. At this point, Victory is only going to be 3 lanes, and really only 1 lane in each direction. And there's only 1 property owner. So I think it's completely reasonable, and that it would to be requesting this, and that I really appreciate when we have real life examples come and see how our access policy actually impacts very specific incidences. And I think, as I would agree with Commissioner Goldthorpe, this is a perfectly reasonable thing to be requesting. And as far as I'm concerned, the driveway never went away. It didn't suddenly disappear. That it's basically recognizing an access point. And if there was a different landowner, they'd still have to take access. and presumably they'd be taking access out to the existing driveway, so I think it's a reasonable request.
Thank you.
Madam
Commissioner
Chair,
McKinney? Oh,
Commissioner
Go ahead, Becky.
Hanson, I appreciate that, and Commissioner Goldthorpe. The unique circumstances with this particular piece of property, I mean, that's the only reason that I'm here this afternoon. Otherwise, I wouldn't even dare to ask. But like you said, you know, one size doesn't fit all, and we're happy that the staff has allowed me to come before you and present my case, because I know that, you know, they can only do so much, and they've been real good to me on this project, working with me.
thank
You
you
got
for
a
sharing that.
good group there.
Thank you. We certainly think so as well. Commissioner McKinney, did you have a comment or
Um,
question?
I do have some thoughts and comments I'll share once we get to the point of making a decision, but I feel like, my questions have, pretty well been answered by.
Okay. All right.
By now.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Do we want to hear from staff now, or go ahead and
No,
go?
we're good.
No? We're good? Okay. All right, commissioners, we have this item before us.
Yes, Madam President,
Commissioner
I would
Goldthorpe.
make a motion that we approve the request for a waiver of policy for the applicant.
All right.
Both requests.
Is there a second?
Both
Second.
requests, yes.
Yeah.
I'll second that.
All right. Now, further discussion.
Yes,
Commissioner McKinney.
Madam President, I think the request for waiver with regard to widening the streets versus dedicating right-of-way is perfectly fine. I'm in favor of that. I'm not as convinced with respect to the waiver of our access locations. One of the challenges with applying rules that we establish for making sure that you know, streets end up the way we want them and the way they work well, is that ordinarily if a property owner wants a waiver of policy, there needs to be some reason beyond just it's going to cost more for us to do it the other way. And I know developers don't like that because sometimes you have complications that make things expensive. But it's not something that can't be done. It's not something that's out of the realm of doing. That is to say, having the longer shared access for Lot 2 rather than the access point on Victory Road. Not only is there the access distance relative to, well, there's the distance between the nearest other intersection. That's an issue, and we don't satisfy that at the present time. And I think that given that it's not something that the developer can't do, I don't see a justification to waive the policy on that particular item. So I'm in favor of waiving the policy on the street improvements, but not as far as the access is concerned.
Okay, thank you. This is really a special circumstance. I think there are some constraints here. The driveway, it has been there for quite a while. I understand it's still there, correct? This is a temporary request. So this is not something that's going to be permanent as we look forward to the lane being added there. So I think we can perhaps put some language in there, making sure that it is designated as a temporary, and I don't know, it would be hard probably to put a time frame in there, but the fact that it is temporary, and I think there's some extenuating circumstances here, I would be inclined to vote in favor.
Madam President,
Commissioner
if
McKinney.
I may, we could at the very least, there should be a condition in
Right.
our approval that once central sewer connections are available for the to serve these parcels and take the place of the community septic system, at that time, the access, if there is an access from Victory Road, it should be eliminated and replaced by access from, what is it, Elevation Place. I think that's the very least that we should do as a condition. But like I say, I would rather
And I think
not
that
get to that
speaks
point.
to my proposal that we have some sort of constraints or some sidebars on that waiver being added, and I think that's consistent with what the applicant expressed here, the temporary expectation there for this access, correct? So would we need to include that then in the motion, Mr. Price? The motion maker would include that caveat?
Thank you, Madam President. Commissioners, you most certainly can. And you can also acknowledge that the applicant had proposed that as part of a solution.
Okay,
Yes, for both.
yes for both? Second motion maker?
Yeah, that's fine.
Approve? Okay,
I just want to make a point that this is the third time we've had this access policy in front of us. Flaws in its way it's applied, and I think it's time we bring that policy to us so we can fix it, so that we don't have these issues coming up in the future. So I'd like, just as an unrelated, as this aside, let's bring this policy back to us and get it fixed.
and we can look at that here in a future session. So with that, then we have the amended motion, the added language there. So with no further comments or discussion, I will go ahead and call for the vote. All those in favor
Aye.
signify by
Aye.
saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
Okay, motion passes. All right, that takes us down to public communications. Spencer, we just have one individual?
Some people from the audience.
Okay,
yes.
all right. Mr. Hunter. Welcome. You could please state your name and address for the record.
Sorry, Travis.
Apologize. Yes, Madam Chair and Commissioner. My name is Travis Hunter with Boise Hunter Homes, 923 South Bridgeway Place, Eagle, Idaho. Do you mind if I share with you guys some exhibits? Just a paper copy.
But, okay, Stacy will take care of that.
Yeah, great.
We like having you right here in front.
You got it.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you for this opportunity to speak public comment. The summary of my request is there's a challenge that we're up against that I'm requesting a workshop with the commission on to help solve some impacts that are pretty substantial to some of our buyers that we're building houses for. I'll give you the brief summary. So I'm talking on Eagle Road, the location between Taconic and Lake Hazel Drive. It's next to our Sky Mesa project. So the phase that I'm talking about is Southern Highlands #1. I'll take you through a timeline of leading us to where we're at today. About a year ago, we recorded the final plat on this project. And, as part of recording the final plat, we dedicated the right-of-way that you guys requested for your future improvements on Eagle Road. Along with that, we constructed approximately 1,000 feet of berm, retaining wall, and privacy fence to shield our future residents from the current Eagle Road and the future Eagle Road that you guys are improving. So over the last year, we've been carrying about our normal business, building houses for customers, building spec homes, etc. And we've sold several homes that are adjacent to Eagle Road. And just as a side note, so the home buying process right now it's a very critical moment for home buyers, because a lot of our buyers have locked their interest rates before they skyrocketed. And so, and they've planned the moves of their homes, et cetera. A lot of them are moving in from out of state, right? So to change course on buyers that already have a house in contract and are locked in is a lot more challenging than normal circumstances right now. So fast forward to about a month ago, Robin Brady, he's an appraiser working for you guys, reached out to us and told us that you guys needed to take more right-of-way from us than what you did in the recording of the final plat, which will include this berm and the fence and the retaining wall that we built to shield our residents from Eagle Road. And by the way, the form of taking that was suggested was a permanent and temporary easement, which, as an aside, I think if you guys are controlling the property and altering it, I think it should be a fee purchase, but that's not my main point. Over the course of the last month, I've met with staff and shared this challenge, and it was suggested that at this point the design is basically final. There's no changes that can be made, etc. 2 days ago, actually, we met with our first home buyer to say, hey, I know that we weren't planning on there being more right-of-way taken and it eating up and altering the berm and fence that we've used to shield you from Eagle Road, but here's the information that we now have been shared by the appraiser and since then with ACHD staff as well, and they requested to cancel the contract. That was 2 days ago. So my understanding is the original right-of-way should have been taken, the right-of-way needed should have been taken a year ago when we recorded the final plat. And to my understanding, the details of this proposed improvement plan have not been voted on by the commission. Maybe I'm wrong and you guys could clarify that for me. But simply as a request, I'm just requesting a workshop with the commission and our team so we can eliminate or minimize impacts to the home buyers that we're building houses for right now on this area and for the rest of the project. And so just the exhibits I gave you were, one was the map of Sky Mesa Highlands. So you could see I think there's about 14 lots there adjacent to Eagle Road. And then the second was just a visual illustration that was given to us by Robin Brady. This isn't the entirety of that stretch, but it's just the theme. The yellow line is a permanent easement, and the blue line is a temporary construction easement. And that you could see a lot of that berm will be altered and changed, etc. So.
Well, and Mr. Hunter, I think you were notified that we can't discuss or deliberate or take any action. But what I can do now is I'm going to ask Director Wong if we can coordinate with you and your team with our staff and have a discussion and try to come up with a workable solution. So that's where we'll leave that. And we appreciate that you're here today to share that with us. So we will look for this going forward and hopefully finding some resolution.
That'd be great.
All right.
If you don't mind if I just ask one question, I don't know your processes perfectly. When you guys have these improvement plans for items such as this, how are those typically approved by the commission in terms of the actual detailed drawings and the details of the improvements?
The staff, here comes Mr. Lucas and he can explain the process, but we'll have a presentation from the staff. You're going to go over there to the corner. Share. Hello.
Hi, commissioners.
We need to turn a light on for you.
That's okay.
Okay.
Just for the record, my name is Justin Lucas. I'm the Deputy Director of Planning and Project Management here at ACHD. Just to respond to Ms.
On the camera?
No.
Oh.
No,
I just wanted to the microphone.
Okay.
Just to respond to Mr. Hunter's question. So as you're aware, commissioners, we have the annual approval of ACHD's integrated 5-year work plan and budget, which describes the projects and the details of those projects. I think Mr. Hunter's more specifically referencing a design detail like what we have here. This is a unique intersection where there's substantial topography changes that exist at the intersection. And those types of details are typically shown on plans and through the public involvement process. We work through those. And as you know, commissioners, you receive a memo every month on those public involvement efforts. So that's typically how we share this information with the public, adjacent landowners. There really is no formal process by which the commission adopts a specific design. That isn't a process that exists here at ACHD unless it's a specific request of the commission to be involved at that level. These projects go through various public involvement efforts. They go through engineering design. There's many standards that we have to meet through that design process, many of which we discuss with you on a regular basis. So I hope that answers the question, but we're glad to provide further information as needed.
Mr. Lucas,
Madam President.
does that help, Mr. Hunter?
Vaguely,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
We just don't want to get too deep into it.
No,
Go ahead,
but
Mr.
because of what Justin just mentioned, I would like, as a commissioner, to request that we do be involved in the decision on this.
Oh, on this project?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I think that's the request here.
It is.
So he's going to be working with staff, and then we'll figure it out, and then they'll come back to us, and
Thank you.
we'll go forward,
Yeah.
so.
Madam President?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Commissioner Hanson.
And I would agree, should have a discussion, and the discussion should also, raise the question of whether it is really justified to have the widening, the 5-lane widening of both Eagle and Cloverdale, because Cloverdale goes all the way south, and Eagle doesn't, Eagle ends. I think at Hubbard or something. But, so the justification for having both of these, roads become so big, I think I'm the only one who really objects to that, but, I have objected to that for quite a while.
All right, Commissioner McKinney, anything to add?
I think this is the sort of thing that is very frequently between developers and our staff. They do a good job of working these things out, and I certainly understand your concerns, and it's the kind of thing that we can certainly deal with, whether the commission is involved or not. Clearly, there's an issue that I think can be resolved.
Yeah,
So
I do too.
we don't.
That's our goal.
Yeah, and we don't normally have all the details of projects and what's going to be the extent of right-of-way taken, what is the extent of easements and so on. Those details in projects are usually, if we focused on all of those, we'd never get anything else done.
Right.
Staff is very good at focusing on those sorts of things and coming up with solutions. Where there are problems, we appreciate you bringing this up so that we can get on it. And I'm sure Justin will work with you very well and the staff to come up with a workable solution to make sure you've got property you can sell and that we get a road that the people can use. So,
Right.
thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you good with that?
Yeah,
So move forward.
can we, I'm asking that the commission would be involved in this specifically, because it's a very challenging one with real estate matters at hand to houses we've already been in contract to sell to buyers. And so it's just, if there could be any, I've worked with Justin thus far briefly, and the answer's been, hey, we have all these standards that we have to build to, and this design cannot. And maybe staff might not feel like they have the authority to go beyond standards that might cause a change, but I'm asking for the commission to maybe have a consideration in this, because it's a pretty big deal to us.
And that's duly noted, so that we will go ahead and Director Wong will coordinate with you, and we'll start the process, and then we'll wait to hear back from Director Wong and the staff, correct?
Well, Madam President,
Commissioner McKinney?
if I may, I think it's worth noting that where there are standards that are applied in the design of highways and where they have an impact on adjacent properties, as you saw in the previous item on today's agenda, a property owner, developer came back and said, we'd like a waiver of this standard because here's why it does or doesn't work in this particular location. So those sorts of things, requests for waivers always come before the commission. So if there's not a solution that comes out of continued discussions with staff, then requesting a waiver may be the route that seems most likely. But in any case, we'll get involved if that comes to pass, but otherwise we aren't necessarily involved in the details.
Okay.
That's accurate. Mr. Price?
Thank you, Madam President. Commissioner Steve Price, General Counsel. Well, this is in public discussion. You can't make any decisions.
Correct.
The typical process is for you to refer it to the director with some direction, and the director and staff will take a hard look at this. And we can come back to the commission and provide a report. Mr. Hunter's asked for a workshop. That's the commission's, we can do that. We'll need a little bit of time to try and work through those issues. The other thing I did want to bring up, since the issue of approval of design plans, some of the newer commissioners probably don't know this, but under the Idaho Tort Claim Act, we have, if we don't follow the industry standards, engineering standards, then we have liability. So you have that. However, there's a provision within it that says, if you deviate from those industry standards and the commission adopts it formally, and that's the time that we've come to the commission in the PAC, where we've had a design that didn't quite meet those industry standards. If the commission approves that through a public process, and we have something that happens, we don't have any liability. So that's really the only time that it comes to the commission, is when we're deviating from industry standards.
Right.
And you guys have the,
Weigh in.
yeah, so that's the, now you are approving the design through the integrated fiber program and the 2-year budget. And you've taken a look at that, and while it doesn't get into the nitty-gritty details, it does meet policy and it does meet engineering standards. You can sleep at night knowing that, unless we ask different.
Correct.
So,
Correct. And we've given the adequate direction to Director Wong and the staff.
Yes.
As you stated. So I think we're at a point now to
Yeah.
halt one more comment, Commissioner Hanson.
Madam President, thank you. I look forward to this coming back, and also to clarify, of course, there's also the legal standard that we must meet the public interest when we're taking additional public property from private property for various uses. And so that standard also has to be met. It's not just about design, but we also have to make an affirmative statement on the record that we are doing this, and there's no alternative.
While that, Madam President, Commissioner Hanson, while that is true, the public interest is under eminent domain law. It's a public necessity, not public interest. It's a very, very low standard, and what that requires is that the project go through a public process, that it is a part of a plan that's been adopted by the governing board. If you have that, including a CIP, then you have public necessity. Don Koppel and all these eminent domain lawyers, they never challenge our public necessity, because all of our projects are part of a plan that have been vetted, and the public's provided comment. What a particular person thinks is a public necessity and what the legal standard under eminent domain are really two different things. And anyway, I've just provided a description about that.
Okay, thank you very much.
And there's a library full of cases on public necessity, and if you'd ever like to look at it, I'm happy to share it with you.
Is in the direction. All right, thank you very much. So, Mr. Hunter, we've got a process here that we're gonna initiate, and we will be involved with you, and we look forward to having a workable solution going forward. So we thank you for taking time today to bring this to our attention.
Yeah, thank you, Madam President and Commission.
All right, thank you very much. All right, anyone else that's here would like to address the commission? Anybody online? All right, none? Then I will go ahead and adjourn our meeting for today. Thank you for being here. We do have an item on our post-commission agenda that we'll go ahead and move right into. Work session on Nez Perce Street Corridor Study Update, presentation by staff and Mr. Bautista. Welcome.
Thank you, Madam President, Commission.
Bryson made handouts for everyone. Here. Here you are.
Thank you. Getting all set.
All right.
Perfect. Good afternoon, Commission. My name is Edison Bautista, ACHD Senior Transportation Planner. In today's meeting, staff would like to provide an update on the Nez Perce Street Corridor Study, including a summary of the first and second public outreach, and present the updated draft concept exhibit ahead of the third outreach effort. This item is an information briefing only, so no decision is required from the Commission at this time. The Nez Perce Corridor Study project is a combination of two efforts. The first effort is the development of a bikeway project, which extends from Orchard Street to Columbus Street. And the second is the development of a concept study for Nez Perce Street between Roosevelt Street and Vista Avenue. Per Commission direction, the entire corridor was reviewed to identify potential bicycle and pedestrian improvements and traffic calming measures. Throughout the corridor, we identified several key destinations, including the Hillcrest Elementary School, Whitney Community Center Elementary School, bikeway corridors like the Shoshone Street Bikeway and the Columbus Street Bikeway, and commercial areas like the Vista Avenue and Orchard Street. Overall, the project goals and objectives include the identification of pedestrian and bicycle improvements that provide a low-stress experience for all users. These improvements can include enhanced bike facilities, filling sidewalk gaps, sidewalk repairs, curb ramp repairs, intersection improvements, signage, traffic calming measures, and more. The recommendation of intersection crossings that increase connectivity, accessibility, and safety. Emphasize the presence of Nesper's Bikeway as a bicycle-friendly corridor and as part of the ACHD low-stress bicycle network. And identify existing pedestrian infrastructure that needs to be upgraded to comply with current standards and the American with Disability Act. For this corridor study, staff and the consultant worked on the review of existing condition, including visiting on several occasions the corridor, review of existing condition data, and establish a comprehensive public engagement effort. As part of this public involvement, back in April, staff conducted several efforts to engage with the community and promote awareness of the project and collect initial input regarding the neighborhood transportation needs. Starting with, staff invited all adjacent property owners to participate in a stakeholder meeting that took place between April 13 and April 14th at different time frames during the day. After those meetings took place, staff participated in 2 neighborhood association meetings to create awareness of the project, advertise the public involvement effort, and address any questions or concerns that the neighborhoods might have. Staff also invited the corridor, staff also visited the corridor to distribute door hangers to all adjacent residents in the area. In addition to all these efforts, staff in coordination with communication advertised the project via social media, email, sandwich boards, and mailers. After that first public involvement meeting, staff attended a meeting with the Whitney Elementary School principal to discuss the initial input from the public and have discussion regarding how students travel to and from school. In the next couple of slides, staff will provide more details on the first and second public outreach efforts. The first public involvement meeting took place between April 20th and May 4th. During this effort, an interactive online tool was made available to the public to provide additional information about the project, collect public input through a survey and interactive comment map, and finally share the schedule of the project. In this slide, we wanted to share some general information collected through this first effort. In total, we received 81 responses between the survey and the interactive comment map. From those comments, 45 responded, shared that they live directly along the corridor. In this survey, we asked the public how they use the corridor. 65 responded that they drive, 59 walk, and 51 ride their bikes along the corridor. In this specific question, the public was able to select several of the options provided. Some examples so as well in this slide, we included additional questions that we asked through the survey. This included, what did the public like about the corridor? And these comments were pulled directly from the survey. So these are public statements. And some of them included like quiet, that the neighborhood is a quiet place, it's a good neighborhood, it's a safe neighborhood, there's mature trees, sidewalks are mostly in good condition, the intersection are well marked, there's free and regulated parking. But as well, as much as we wanted to ask about just what they like, we wanted to know what their needs are, what their concerns are regarding. And this next question we asked to them was, what do you dislike about the corridor? And we separate this in different sections, and I will go with in each one the next couple of items. So starting with the sidewalk, some of the comments were regarding the lack of sidewalk for kids in some sections. Also the lack of crossings, and also the need of ADA ramps access, for example, at Nesper Street and App Street. Then jumping into the streets, overall the street sections, the public commented on the poor visibility, safety, and crossing streets, the increase of traffic along the corridor, and the speeding throughout the entirety of the corridor. Additionally, the need of more dedicated bike lanes, for example. And finally, other comments included that the neighborhood's not very inviting with large power poles, the lack of signage, increased vandalism and littering. But so, as mentioned before, these are directly pulled from that survey that from the first public outreach effort. Now jump into the second public involvement meeting, which took place between July 19 and August 2nd. During this effort, again, the staff, we developed an interactive online tool that was prepared that included information regarding what we heard from the first public involvement meeting, the proposed improvements that broken down by segment, and a survey to collect initial input regarding each of those proposals. Through this effort, 475 members of the public accessed the ACAC project webpage. 350 people viewed the story map and the information provided. 50 participated in the public survey, and 9 people attended the public online meeting. In this slide, we want to share some of the comments we heard from the public. These include the public's interest in seeing more pedestrian facilities along, for example, Pond Street and Country Club Drive, additional improvements at Roosevelt Street and Country Club Drive, and the interest of seeing more bike and pedestrian improvements along Nespers Street. In addition to those comments, at several points throughout the public involvement, the public commented the desire of keeping on-street parking along the corridor. I also wanted to quickly show some of the exhibits presented during this public outreach effort, and I will click through those examples in this slide. So we have, with this section, we'd be in Milad and Pond Street, going through Country Club, and then going through Roosevelt Street. Then an example of what that Nespers Street area would look like. As mentioned before, Commission, as part of the project, staff and the consultant conducted a comprehensive review of the segment of Nespers Street between Roosevelt Street and Vista Avenue. Through this effort, staff identified 3 options that were presented in front of the public for their consideration. In this slide, we present the 3 alternatives as well as imagery of this type of improvements, with option A being share lane marking with traffic calming and parking on both sides. Option B being bike lane, the installation of bike lane on both sides with some traffic calming consideration and parking at least in one side. And option C, the installation of buffer bike lane on both sides with no on-street parking. In addition, staff would like to showcase, in this slide, staff would like to showcase some of the results obtained from the survey. Throughout the survey, we asked the public how they feel with the proposed improvements and how it will impact their experience along the corridor. And as shown in the green call out, at least 76% of the people who participate in the survey expressed that in some way or form agreed with the improvement presented. For the Nespers Street portion, we asked the public what was their preferred alternative, and has shown in orange in the orange box, 42% selected option B, which again is the installation of bike lanes, some traffic calming measures, and keeping parking at least in one side. And here we are, Commission, in the 3rd public involvement meeting. We have heard the public and their interest in seeing more improvements along the corridor, and following this input, we have updated the proposed concept with the feedback received from the 2nd public outreach. In this 3rd outreach effort, we are reaching out again to the community and asking them their opinion on the proposed improvement, including reaching a consensus on the type of improvement we want to recommend as part of this concept, and addressing any questions or concerns. The 3rd public outreach will take place between September 22nd and October 6th, with a virtual meeting taking place on September 29th. As part of today's work session, work session staff report. Staff included copies of the draft proposed improvements for the Nez Perce Street project. In this slide, we wanted to showcase some of those segments that are part of the draft concept. And in this slide, I start from that section from Malad Street, starting from Orchard Street, going through Pond Street. As you can see, Commission, we are recommending filling those sidewalk gaps along the corridor, as well as consideration of some crossing opportunities into Orchard Street as well as Pond Street. And then that connecting to existing facilities that already are in place throughout throughout Pond Street, for example, in this case. And then going northern, closer to the Hillcrest Elementary School, filling the gap on the north side of Pond Street, connecting that connection, missing connection on the existing sidewalk. Then jumping into the country club side, one of the difference from the second public outreach at this point is that back then we recommended bike lanes on both sides, but based on the public interest of seeing more pedestrian facility and seeing at least one side of the installation of sidewalk at least in one side, our draft show now that sidewalk on the north section with bike lane, and but with that we had to remove at least one bike lane downhill to be able to accommodate that new infrastructure in place. And then we heard a lot about Country Club Drive and Roosevelt. The interest that buffer wouldn't be enough at that specific location. So one of the things that the public was asking us is to add some concrete facility that would create that separation on the bike lane side that connects to that country club. So as you can see, Commission, we have updated a lot of elements within the concept to reflect that public interest, as well as the consideration of an RFB there at that intersection. Then one of the things that we wanted to highlight through this third outreach is the alternative or the option that the public voted on, which is the second option with the bike lanes on both sides and on-street parking on this one side. As shown in this slide, we have taken into consideration several traffic calming elements, including raised intersections. So in this example, you can see it on Nez Perce and Cleveland Street. There's other traffic calming elements along the route. And finally, reaching that section of this between Vista and Columbus Street, where there's a lot of missing sidewalk gaps. We're also taking that into consideration to make sure that we're following Commission direction of going in once and addressing those pedestrian and bicycle concerns that are along this stretch. And finally, the Commission has the next steps. Staff will open the third public involvement from September 22nd to October 6th with a virtual public meeting on September 29th. Staff will take all the comments collected during this period and update the concept exhibit as needed. Staff will be back in front of the Commission in November for adoption consideration. And with this, I conclude my presentation. I will stand for any questions.
All right, thank you very much. Commissioners, any questions or comments? Commissioner Hanson?
So Edinson, thank you. I appreciate this. This has been the #1 traffic calming issue in the area I represent for 10 years. Higher in my mind to even Kootenai or Rose Hill or all the others, because just nature of the neighborhood. It's been a cut-through street. The Nez Perce section from Vista to Roosevelt has been a cut-through street in front of a school because of Overland. And so this is good. I also am really pleased to see that it's starting to be a livable street, not just, how do we do a bike facility on this? But we have to integrate things. And I'm really pleased. I don't think I've ever seen a raised intersection on plans before. Have we had any? I don't think so. So this is very good that we are going to do raised intersection in raised intersections on, I think, 4 places, especially on Nespers. It's hard to do that as temporary, so, but that certainly will help to slow the traffic down. I mean, that's the most thing, because paint isn't gonna make the bike lane feel safe if people are still speeding. And I think the raised intersections are really important. I think there could be a lot more bulb outs. I'm surprised we haven't looked at the way in which at Rose Hill, you move to accommodate parking. It isn't a straight line. You actually have to undulate just a little to accommodate parking on one side or the other. And instead, this is viewed as just a straight shot. So I would suggest maybe we look at some of those places, because I think that's done, it's gonna work really well on Rose Hill. Why wouldn't it work on Nespers to have it so that you preserve parking? And the best way, from the way in which Rose Hill project has evolved and all that input that's come from the neighbors, is to be able to designate the specific, everybody knows these are parking places and these are not. And sometimes it's on the south side, sometimes it's on the north, and sometimes it's both. But curb extensions and chicanes are really good ways of designating. You can't park here, but you can park here. The Cascia Street bikeway has a couple of really good examples of this is clearly parking area, you can park, and it also designates it as this isn't a travel lane. If there's no cars here, this is not a travel lane. So I guess that's my input, is like, let's pull in some of the issues that we've also evolved. Is Kittleson the consultant on this too?
No, for this project, we have Jacobs Engineering.
Oh, okay, because I was gonna say, they've already come up with it, how it works, and so I'm surprised it hasn't been integrated. And my priority is that section between Vista and Roosevelt. You know, it doesn't escape my notice that the reason why we have speed humps on Country Club is because the neighborhood, and it's a different neighborhood, requested it and they got it. So speeding doesn't happen in that section because they got speed humps. And this is proposed preserving those on Country Club and Pond. That's the function of what these raised crosswalks are gonna do too. So I hope that we can look into some of the, I think option B is a good one, but maybe with some more curb extensions, even temporary curb extensions on there's side streets that don't go all the way through, but there's an opportunity for a side street crossing. So just to help keep, so it's clear, this is not a cross, it's not an arterial. This is a collector street. It's not an arterial. Rose Hill's an arterial. And yet we're doing it there. This is a collector street, a neighborhood street, and the demographics of the neighborhood is quite a bit different. So it's a little more challenging to sort of pull out and encourage people to feel like they can own some of the ideas that are being talked about, like we've been able to do on Kootenai and on Rose Hill. So that's my input.
All right, thank you very
Thank you.
much. All right, any other comments? Good job. We'll be interested to see what the public comments are going forward with this new one. So out tomorrow.
Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you very much for being here. All right, that's it for today. Thank you, everyone.